Hey guys, welcome back to Best Practice TV. We haven't done this for a while. We've had a bit of a hiatus. We've been doing lots of short clips, doing lots of stuff on the vlog. I've got my good mate Keith Phillips here again. He's dropped in to talk about what's happening in the future of the assessment industry. So we've got a ton of assessors. So lots of exciting stuff. Very handsome room right now with both of us here. So stay tuned. We're bringing great people to you. They're talking leadership, they're talking strategy, they're talking innovation, they're talking creativity. They've got the big ideas. This is Talking Business. So mate, thanks for coming back. What we've been kicking around is, the crystal ball and looking into the crystal ball. And, you've been beavering away with your team, doing some great work in making a huge amount of data that a traditional organisation would put on paper. So an industry like ours, we've got a team of assessors. We're going out and seeing lots of amazing companies and we're helping them to improve. But we haven't had like a centralised data set, if you like, that's been able to be massaged and manipulated and to give us intel. And if we're talking about big data, and big data's everywhere, there is a huge amount of assessment work happening out there in the global marketplace, and some of you guys that watch these interviews and watch us on YouTube would be part of that. So if you've got a team of assessors that you're working with, whether you're an assessor yourself, this guy's got some amazing insights. So tell us just a little bit about, to revisit the topic, a little bit about QLBS. Like, what is it, what it's all about, what have you observed?
Well, the first thing people ask is, what does QLBS stand for? And it's Quantum Leap Beyond Spreadsheets. Now, why that? It's actually the whole issue of measurement systems and assessment systems, essentially. Is spreadsheets it? Is that the end of the continuum when it comes to technology? Mm-hmm. What's beyond that? Mm-hmm. And it's become apparent when you look at the total market that you've got a whole bunch of accountants and accountancy systems mm-hmm. that's measuring the numbers that are coming out of business. And we sit around in boardrooms actually looking at rearview mirror stuff. We know exactly when we're bankrupt, for instance, but we don't know what we should have been doing a year before, if you like, to avoid bankruptcy. But as directors and managers of business, we sit around looking at balance sheets and P&Ls, which is essential reading, and the better we are at doing that. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's going on, and that's assessing quality, compliance, risk, assessing excellence. They're models that consultants and experts have put together of business excellence, like Baldrige or EFQM or Lean. There's models of quality like ISO that are coming through and being used for various things, and all kinds of different models. And there's a whole team of people that are out there, a whole industry of players that are actually assessing this, compliance, risk, quality, accreditation, and so on. And to a large extent, they're sitting on an enormous pile of unused data. It's, as we talk about, data is the new oil. Data is the new knowledge, essentially. And technology enables you to put in measurement systems that can actually mine all of that, or let's refine that oil that's out there, tap into those huge oil fields. I think that when you look at the whole area of knowledge, the assessment industry is probably sitting on one of the largest oil fields that exist of data. And it's at the moment, the assessment is being done using spreadsheets mm-hmm. or paper mm-hmm. or single stovepipe assessment systems. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, you're finding lots of little islands of knowledge that are lost on people's desktops or companies and so on. These days, in much the same way as you're using cloud-based measurement systems in the accountancy area, products like Xero and so on, we have the ability to actually use the same kind of cloud-based assessment systems to mine or to tap into all of those, all of that data that's out there that the industry is doing that. So that's what QLBS is about, and that's what our passion and your company too, I can see, is working at. How is new digital technology going to reshape that assessment industry so that we can actually deliver not only just ticks compliance documents, but real knowledge and real benefit to businesses around the world.
Yeah. So, when we talk, and we're talking about a lot, so we're talking about, really, cumbersome programs that have got thousands and thousands of assessments, without naming names and, and there's confidentiality and commercial restraints and that sort of stuff. But can you tell us, of the different people that you've been working with, what's the most amount of assessments that's taken place in a year in one of your systems, or a bulk amount of assessments that's been completed in a program?
30,000, something like that. It's and that can only be done. I mean, if you take an example, let's take something we all understand, food. All right. So you're actually growing food through thousands of farmers. There are a lot of suppliers to those farmers that providing fertilizer and all those sort of things, as an example. And then of course that food is then being transported, perhaps through refrigeration or transport systems, if you like, to a supermarket near you.
That's right.
Now, if you're assessing food security, which is extremely important to all of us from a health point of view, as well as from an export point of view. Imagine if your industry got into trouble exporting something to China.
Or
it could
if your
ruin
ice cream
you could ruin the entire industry of the business for that. Now, how do you get on top of food security, for instance? You've got to actually go down to be able to assess the providers of fertilizer and whatever it is to the farmers. You've got to be able to assess the processes of the farmers, or at least open their eyes to what they should be doing from a safety and security point of view, from the packaging areas, and then getting into the transport and the eventual end supply to you. And the only way you can actually do that is through these cloud-based. I mean, we're talking about thousands of systems here, So you've got to use a number of things. You've actually got to use cloud-based technology. That means it's accessible to anybody to assess themselves or be assessed by multiple different types of assessors. But you've also got to be able to get people to understand the knowledge, feed that back to them. So you provide, dashboards and things like that, out of the marketplace. But you can't humanly get assessors doing all of this work. You want the assessors definitely verifying and that. You've got to start to use technology itself to be able to reach into those places, which may be all over the place, different parts of the country, for instance. So using, again, not only digital technologies, but also the technologies of capturing what's actually going out there, digital video and other things like that, so that you can actually do quite a bit of remote online assessment, as well as a professional assessment of these marketplaces, and then capture that interaction, capture that viewpoint, convert it into some kind of numeric measurement system, so that you can compare one farmer to another farmer, or one supplier to another farmer, so you can start to drive quality with a certain amount of knowledge of the real system there.
So if you think back to some of the clients that you've been working with on their large scale assessment schemes recently, or not recently, if you think about the life cycle of those assessment schemes that you've been working on with people, have you seen any, or could you nominate any significant improvements? So they've been able to globalize that data. They've been able to consolidate and then maybe get some more accurate insights into what's going on. Then on the ground, what are some of the things that have been improved that get you excited to say, actually, I saw that come to fruition? What are some of those sorts of things, like in the business, the local business economy here, for example?
There are some very interesting and fundamental changes. And some of them are so simple that you say, well, we know that, but when people see it, they do something about it. Mm-hmm. I can give you an example. We have used a product called Business Fitness to assess multiple thousands upon thousands of organizations elsewhere. But I was sitting in one particular case where a company went through the business assessment model, and it identified that actually its business growth was constrained largely because they hadn't put the administration side was weak. Now, what typically happens with a business is that your best guy is the founder and CEO, and he's the best sales guy. And as his business grows, he gets sucked into administration more and more. So he gets into something he's not good at, which is administration, and he stops doing stuff which he's good at, sales. The company, the guy actually went and got a kick-ass administration person, put that in place, and we went back and reassessed his company as little as 6 months later. And his business was tracking, and within 1 year his business had doubled in size on just something simple as that. And I can give you countless examples of identifying simple things and understanding that hey, a risk, or that the business is imbalanced, it's missing a wheel, it's not going somewhere, let's put that wheel back on and it moves forward. It's not complicated stuff. That's at the micro level. At the macro level, the ability to aggregate this data so that you can look at a whole community. An example, we do an enormous amount of work across all of the sports clubs, and this is assessing compliance as well as capability in sports clubs. Being able to pull that together, you figure out that in certain segments, one of their biggest problems is declining membership. And when you measure the processes that how are they attracting members? How are they keeping in contact with their members? How are they following up members who decline to do that? The processes aren't in place. So you can then put a program in across the whole of the community, if you like, to start doing that. Again, there are many examples of that.
Yeah, fantastic. So some of the other industries, you started to mention them, some of the sporting industries, lots of assessments, maybe the health industries, the food industry. So it's not something that's sort of tailored to what we would typically do here at Best Practice, which is in the business plan, business improvement space, starting to look at assessments across the outcome is to have a consolidated data set to give you high levels of intelligence that you can see exactly what's going on and make fact-based decisions. One of the quality principles in ISO 9001 is talking about fact-based decision making. Absolutely fantastic. So if we sort of, we're talking to some of the, the industries that we work with, and they're starting to watch our videos and that sort of stuff. What sort of questions do you want them to come to you with? When they're reaching out to you and they're talking to you, what sorts of questions have they got for you? The typical, someone comes to you and they say, "Hey Keith, we think there's a bit of an issue." What sorts of questions do they ask you?
The questions they ask us, if you like,
that. Like some of the meetings we've been to together, what sorts of questions are they asking? What are the intel they're looking for?
It's largely looking at what are the constraints to growth, or where are we at as a business today, if you're talking about the business fitness side of things.
And what about in the sort of in the sporting space? Are they talking about risk? And they're saying, we want some data and we want some intelligence and some science behind. We've got this risk exposure over here. You're talking about risk?
Definitely identifying obviously risk, and it depends on what level. We're going to a particular region. If you've got data on business risk and capability on that sort of basis, we're going to a particular region. This could be a politician, right? A good example: New South Wales business assessment program. This is a program designed to actually help businesses identify growth constraints and grow, if you like, and identify their own risk and quality areas. And that program is administered through 15 different business advisory bodies. These are individual companies that go out and do that, and they have a whole bunch of business advisors that are helping business. The cloud technology enables you for all of them to operate using the same system, and for you to pull that back and identify the big areas there, so that you get a database that describes what's actually happening in the community.
Yeah.
And so that when a simple example, a member of parliament is going to Wagga Wagga or some other community, they can actually say, "Tell us what the issues are and the risks in this business," and they can go and talk to that business community with a great deal of depth and understanding of what it is. We've got these numbers of women in business, CEOs or whatever it is, and it appears that the businesses have these particular problems. That's at one level. At other levels, when you're dealing with perhaps banks that come in and they really want to understand what risks business is incorporating on that sort of basis, understanding that if this business put in better systems or approaches, there'll be lower risk, etc.
Yeah. So what Keith and I are bringing to you guys, if you've got a large community of assessments, or if you've got a large community of sites, locations, organisations, companies, clubs, those sorts of things, and you want to get a good, high quality insight into what's happening, it's time for you guys to reach out to us and have a talk to us. Give us a call, contact us, and we can talk you through what's involved in doing running a large assessment program. So we're talking about lots of locations, but more importantly, consolidating that information. So it's not just about going out and doing the audit or the assessment and doing lots of those. It's about the value that we're offering you guys, or the insights that we're offering you guys, is about doing those assessments, doing that data collection, and then giving you that intelligence. So we then it's about building the database and building the data suite. So whether it's a on-site verification type assessment where we would bundle up a whole bunch of the best practice team and then Keith's team and put that together, this is about the collaboration to bring you guys high quality intelligence. So if you're looking at community insights, if you're looking at supplier insights, you're a large organisation with lots of suppliers, you're looking at a large assessment scheme, then that's what we're talking about here. So, we're starting to test in, assessments of lots of hospitals, assessments of lots of healthcare facilities, lots of farmers, lots of factories. That's the type of stuff we're looking at here, so that you're building out that assessment program. So at the bottom end, we've talked at the top end of the scale, 30,000, 40,000 assessments in some of the modules that have been put together, which have been quite exciting. And some of that stuff can be online, so the capability for hitting a link and having an online assessment system that gives you good quality data. And then also, if you want high quality data, actually having one of our team actually do the on-site component of that, so the data collection and verification in the context of that. But what would be the smaller end of the scale? So, there's the virtual business advisor that we've been working with and we've been getting clients to do. But if we were to bundle and do an assessment system, what would be sort of the starting point in terms of numbers of assessments to really drive some value?
A single assessment. If you're actually just going onto the cloud and drawing that down, you could go down to that particular level. But if you want to invest in understanding how to use the systems and whatever it is, you'd probably want to be doing 100 or something like that.
So if you and I think I think the 100 number is the key number here that we've sort of looked at. So if you've got 100 or more assessments, it starts to build out the value proposition for the effort to go to do a little bit of customization of the system, and then to start to look at how that system's mobilised. It's about 100. So if you're doing more than 100 assessments per year, or 100 internal audits, 100 external audits, 100 supplier audits, so 100 or more, that starts to be the tipping point where you've got the cost benefit of using a good quality system like what Keith's developed, and in the collaboration with best practice. So, mate, thanks for coming on and joining us here again at Talking Business. Hang around, because we've got lots more to say. Don't forget to hit subscribe right here on the YouTube channel. Lots of great people watching our videos, and thanks very much. If you've got any questions, comment below. If you've got any important things that you want to look for, follow me on LinkedIn. Look out for Keith on LinkedIn as well, and send either of us a message. But following me on LinkedIn is a great thing to do. So just find me on LinkedIn, hit the follow button, and you'll get all of our great updates. New video feature there on LinkedIn that's just been released that we're going to be using a lot. So we'll see you soon next time right here on Best Practice TV. Bye for now. Thanks, mate.
Cheers, guys.